Yeah, okay. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. حياكم الله, مساكم الله بخير. So here we are, alhamdulillah. I believe this possibly may be our last lesson. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. As I always mention, the Seerah, the biography of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, is lengthy, and the book in terms of giving the Seerah, the biography, is too right. Does not suffice, but in regards to Aqidah, in regards to Creed, these are the most six significant points within the Seerah, which Sheikh Fawzan has extrapolated. Barakallahu feekum. And we've mentioned many fawaid from the Seerah, from them obviously being tasarrufat al-Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam, the interactions of the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam with those that disbelieved and those who are harsh towards him. And likewise, even after being given the upper hand and then being told to proclaim the message openly, how he would deal with the turmoil and the affliction and the harms that came his way. So we learned, a fair amount, as you guys know, when they were somewhat ostracized by their community. The Prophet ﷺ and his Sahaba, his companions, they were sent to the mountain pass. They were sent to the mountain pass where they could not marry, nor could they, do trade. And this is from the hardships in which came upon the Prophet ﷺ and those that believed, Sahaba. As we always mention, Sahabi is who, Ikhwan? Yes. Just meets him.
Believes in him, dies upon that. Dies believing in him.
Dies upon Islam. Yeah. For example, some may have said the Prophet ﷺ is a true prophet. We mentioned this. He is a true prophet. They know it. They have ma'rifah, they have iqrar. Iqrar meaning they acknowledge it, but they never professed Islam. Meaning they never said the shahada. So that's why we say the sahabi, ta'rifan, by way of definition, is who? Man amana billah, or afwan. Man laqiya al-nabi wa amana bihi wa mata al-islam. So sahabi, a companion, as we define it, is one who met the Prophet alayhi salatu salam, wa amana bihi, and believed in him, wa mata al-islam, and died upon Islam. Because there were people who believed in the messenger at the time of the messenger, but never met the messenger. Is he a Sahabi? No, because he never met the first condition. But yet he's a Muslim. So in order to, no doubt, be a Sahabi, yes, laqiya al-Nabi, he has to have met the Prophet alayhi salatu salam and amana bihi, and believe in him, wa mata al-Islam, and die upon Islam. So it's not enough, as we always mention, to say a person has ma'rifah, has knowledge of the Prophet being a true prophet, but yet he didn't come forth with the testimony, as we always mention. That's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, قُولُوا لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ تُفْلِحُونَ. Say the testimony of faith, you all will be successful. Why did he say? Any ideas? Why did he command to say La ilaha illallah? Why do you think? Why would the Prophet ﷺ command to say it? It's not sufficient just to believe in the heart. Unless obviously you're under duress or, you've been subdued by your enemy and you can't profess your Islam. This is different. But the asl orientation with the shahada is that you say it upon the tongue if you believe it. Sahih? Hence the reason why the Prophet ﷺ benefits we managed to gather from the Seerah. Who remembers? Yes, Akhi, Bismillah.
Last question we learned about the three people that
claim prophethood during the time of the Prophet.
Well done. One of them being Musaylama al-Kadhab. صح? Any others? He was from Yemen. I give Aswad Al-Ansi. صحيح. Any others? Huh? We're going to get to it, inshallah. Yeah? So I think today's lesson will be, somewhere around there. And we mentioned there were previous claimants to prophethood. Yeah? There were previous claimants to prophethood. And the brother mentioned one, Al-Aswad Al-Unaysi, or Anisi, Al-Musaylama Al-Kadhab, Al-Mukhtar bin Abi Ubaid. The brother was right. Yeah? Al-Thaqafi. And what was significant about that individual, the brother mentioned, his father was a Muslim. His father was a Muslim. He believed in Islam, but he never met the Prophet ﷺ, but yet he lived at the same time at the Prophet ﷺ. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah? So he was killed and martyred. Yeah? And his dad was Abu Ubaid. Yeah? And we also mentioned from some of the false claimants to prophethood within the 19th century, was whom? Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, yeah? Toilet boy. Yeah, may Allah forgive us and obviously, keep us upon steadfast Islam. I mean, he died upon the toilet, May Allah save us from this. He also claimed many things. He claimed he is Allah, he claimed he is Isa. Many of these false claimants, they expose themselves over time. And effectively, he was an invention of the British, government in order to cause confusion amongst the Muslims. And this was a movement happening, all over the, Middle East and that region in order to destabilize Muslim countries, especially in Egypt. It happened with atheism, ilhad, and, teaching the new generation, the Jail al-Judud, some of the foreign ideas of the West. And from them being is, as you all know, removing the woman from her household and actually kind of like letting her go free to work wherever she may happen to choose. But it was the inspiration they were given to the women. You're locked up and you're, held captive, where's your rights? And this came about by, the indoctrination of that new generation from the Muslims. Because obviously if you bring a white guy with, blonde, blue eyes, they're like, you're a foreigner, you're not from around here. So they, inspire the new youth of today. They try to inspire the new youth of today with foreign thought, alien thought, to make it seem as if, look, we're teaching you new knowledge that can enlighten you from another aspect. Sometimes there is some truth in it, technology and what have you, engineering. This is a new knowledge of some sort. But the intent here was, an evil one, which was actually to indoctrinate and, somewhat make Islam seem backwards. So this was a thing, and they were, using different types of methods within those times there in order to confuse and, bring about a more deviant sect than that which was already present in those countries, like Dawlat al-Fatimiyya. There were many things, there's many techniques used. Different regions had their, very exclusive factors that were, connected to them. Maybe one region, they would say there's a prophet from that particular people. Obviously, it's a false prophet. Maybe another region, it was the insertion of foreign thought and people of innovation. Because the people of innovation, they can be bought. A lot of people don't know that. They act all pious and or sanctimonious and what have you, but they can be bought. And 9 times out of 10, it always comes down to money. Yeah, you don't ever see them refute each other, except when it comes down to money. Like in America, these 2 famous da'is, I don't know if you guys know, they're not in court because one accused another of something with heresy or issues of aqidah. They're in court because one of them accused the other of stealing his da'wah techniques. You'd never believe this. In court, because he stole my da'wah techniques. I don't know if you guys know who this is. You know, yeah? I couldn't believe it. He stole my da'wah techniques. Ya Allah, you know? I'm not one for controversy, but that's a controversial one, isn't it? You know? Allah musta'an. He stole my da'wah techniques. So where did you get that technique from? Allah musta'an. But, yes, back to the lesson, inshallah. We'll probably go off on a tangent if I mention some of these things. Okay. So, in continuation of where we left off, we haven't really got much, to be fair. We read that part, didn't we? Okay. So he mentioned, is it possible for a person to be a believer in Allah and His Messenger, but he accepts the nabuwah of the false nabuwah of Musaylimah al-Kadhab? Yes, he's annulled the shahada, hasn't he? He has, falsified his own shahada just by accepting the prophethood of any man that comes after the Prophet Muhammad. So what was happening in the Hurub al-Ridda is that people were saying, La ilaha illallah, there's none worthy of worship in truth except Allah. But they weren't necessarily committing acts of shirk, worshipping idols, but they were accepting the prophethood of whatever false prophet. They were in clear confliction with the statement of La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah. Yeah? So somebody can effectively apostate, but not commit shirk, just by effectively accepting a false prophet. So right now, you probably see a lot of people claiming that so-and-so's a Mahdi in some far-off region in Poland or India. And this annuls their Islam in theory. Yeah? So, we're not murji'ah. We don't say everybody just Muslim like that, even if they commit acts of kufr. No, we don't say that. Yeah? You can, annul your Islam. You can, effectively exit yourself out the fold of the religion by way of accepting a false prophet. Yeah? As for specific individuals, then yes, their case is looked into, but 9 times out of 10, like the so-called Qur'aniyun, they're not actually people of the Qur'an, they are non-Muslim. Sheikh Albani said that. Those that reject all of the Sunnah, yeah, they are not Muslim. Yeah? They're disbelievers because they disbelieved in the Qur'an first and foremost. Yeah? But as for those that accept the Sunnah but reject some parts of the Sunnah, there is, some differing, because they do accept the Sunnah, it's just they happen to reject certain ahadith based upon a faulty or false interpretation. So this is different. Yeah, this is different. And their case is definitely looked into. Yeah, jazakum Allah khair. So, إذا قال أن مسيلمة صادق. If someone was to say Musaylimah Kadhab is Sadiq, is truthful, is he kafir or Muslim? He's kafir, yeah. صار مرتدا, he becomes an apostate, as we mentioned, yeah. عن دين الإسلام, from the religion of Islam. وهذا بالإجماع, and this is by way of consensus. Yeah. ومنهم من أقر بالشهادتين, yeah, and from them there were those that affirmed the 2 testimonies of faith, which is لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله, وصدق طليحة ابن خويلد الأسدي في دعواه النبوة. So yeah, this individual طليحة al-Asadi, he believed in his claim to Nabuwa. Yeah? طليحة من ادعى النبوة وصدقه قومه وقاتلوه الصحابة معه. So طليحة he claimed Nabuwa, and he basically believed in the prophethood of this person, Musaylimah. And he fought along with him against the Sahaba in the beginning. Yeah? And he belonged to Banu Asad ibn Khuzaymah in terms of the Qabila. He belonged to Banu Asad. And Ibn Khuzaymah in terms of Qaba'il, in terms of tribe. And he was a wealthy Arab, and he was a military commander. Yeah? ثم أن الله من على طليحة وعاد الإسلام. Then Allah, bestowed Tulayha, to return back to Islam. He favored him وتاب إلى الله, and he repented to Allah. Yeah? وقتل في حروب الفرس مع المسلمين, and he was killed in the wars pertaining to them fighting the people of Persia. Yeah? مع المسلمين. Yeah? ومنهم من صدق عبهلة ابن كعب الأسود العنسي صاحب الصنعاء. We mentioned this individual. From them was he who believed in Abhala, I believe it is from Sana'a, he was from Yemen. Al-Aswad al-Ansi, I believe it is, yeah. And he was from Yemen. قتله Abdullah ibn Fayruz, and he was killed by Abdullah ibn Fayruz. في آخر حياة النبي, in the very last part of the Prophet's lifetime. You know, I mentioned this fa'idah. I don't know if I've mentioned it before. It's slightly off topic. Let me ask you guys this a question, yeah? Can you see the Prophet ﷺ in your dream? You sure, yeah? All right. Say like Ja'far, you know, may Allah bless him with seeing the Prophet ﷺ in his dreams, yeah? Ameen. All of us, ameen. Say like Ja'far, he sees the Prophet ﷺ in his dream. And he comes and narrates it. And then, so what's your name, Akh? Mu'ayn. He comes and says, I saw the Prophet ﷺ in my dream as well. They give two different descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah? Can one be lying? Or can one be telling the truth? Or are they both right? One can be lying. Could be. Could they both be telling the truth? No. No way. What do you say? Is your brother a liar? What do you say? Is it possible? Could they both be telling the truth or they're both lying? They both could be telling the truth. All right, so Imam Tirmidhi, in his book, Shama'il Muhammadiyah, he mentions two people could both have a dream about the Prophet ﷺ and both give two different kind of descriptions, but they both can be right. How? So Imam Tirmidhi, in his book Shama'il Muhammadiyah, in like the prophetic sort of descriptions and characteristics of the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions they both could be right. How? Maybe Ja'far, he sees the Prophet ﷺ when he's young. And maybe the brother Mu'ayn, he sees the Prophet ﷺ with grey hair. Two different descriptions. That's because he saw the Prophet ﷺ before death. You see it? So you can have two different descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ in your dream from two different individuals, but they both can be right. So he mentions that proof. And then sometimes, what's been narrated on behalf of this book, Imam Tirmidhi, he mentions, I think Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani also comments on this as well. And Shaykh Abdul-Razak al-Badr, he mentions some commentary on this very same point. He said, a person could give a description and it might even sound like the Prophet, but it's not. He could have seen Al-Hasan, because it said that he also resembled the Prophet ﷺ a lot more than anyone else. So a person could think that they see the Prophet ﷺ, but he actually saw Al-Hasan or Hussein. It was said that Al-Hasan, I believe, Allahu A'lam, he used to resemble the Prophet a lot. So yeah, Imam Tirmidhi mentions that fa'idah. Yeah. I'll give you another one, because we spoke about tabarruk. Do you remember tabarruk? Huh? What's tabarruk? Seeking blessings. What, you can do it from a rock? Tabarruk. Can't do it, done. Yeah, at the time of the Prophet only. Yeah, tabarruk means seeking blessings. So when you eat food, for example, Imam Tirmidhi, he also mentions this benefit, yeah, mashallah. It's nice. It's good to read about the Prophet because we're doing Seerah, but just how his interactions were. He mentions this nice fa'idah, where he goes on to say sometimes the Prophet ﷺ, he would oppose what he commanded. Not in major things, not in like, you know, Tawheed, no. But in small things. For example, when we eat food together, the command is, Kul min ma yalik, I believe it is. Eat from that which is closest to you, sah? So you eat from that which is closest to you, sah? So when you eat out of a big, you know, sah on a big plate, it's not really from the Sunnah to grab onto an next man's side, is it? Even though many people do it, yeah? But the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he would do that. He would do that. Imam Tirmidhi, he mentions why. He said, so the other Sahaba could get blessings from him. This was tabarruk in that given sense. You see it? So sometimes, even though he commanded with eating from that which is nearest to you, from a big plate, because the Sahaba and whatnot, and the Muslims at the time used to eat from one plate. But he would oppose that in order so the other Sahaba, the other companions, could seek blessings from him. Yeah?
Was there another narration where Rasulullah would do wudu, and then when he would finish with the wudu, the leftover, the Sahaba would.
Sometimes, yeah. Tabarruk, yeah.
As long as you believe that the blessings come from directly from Allah subhanahu
wa ta'ala. No doubt. But, the Prophet ﷺ, khairu khalqillah, he is a blessing, no doubt, yeah? His teachings and what have you. So, we do believe in tabarruk, but not like how the extreme Sufiya do. My man from Turkey has got the sword of the Prophet ﷺ. This one here in the corner shop's got the hair of the Prophet ﷺ. This one here has got the shoe. There's many different fables, and Allah Mustaan, where's the narrations? Proving this. This one here says he's got the, the hat of Ali bin Abi Talib. He rubs it on you, all of a sudden you become, spiritually just inclined to do khair. This form of tabarruk, there's no standard for it. There's no chain of transmission. There's no chain of transmission for these things, even though they'll lie to you about all sorts of different things. But yeah, I thought I'd drop that fa'idah, or those two benefits, inshallah ta'ala. So, وأما مسيلمة فإنه قاتله الصحابة. As for Musaylima al-Kadhab, the Sahaba, the companions, they fought against him. في حرب اليمامة بقيادة خالد ibn Walid حتى قتلوه. So the Sahaba, under the leadership of Khalid ibn Walid, they fought Musaylima al-Kadhab. And the Battle of Yamama was from the Hurub al-Ridda, so the wars of apostasy. Yeah, Hurub al-Ridda. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu anhu, he fought those that, claimed prophethood and what have you. And we call this Hurub al-Ridda. Yeah, the battles of those who apostated. Yeah. So it said that Khalid bin Walid, he fought 40 battles. He fought 40 battles. 30 of which he was the qa'id, meaning he was the military commander for. 30 of which he was actually the military commander for. Yeah? And he didn't lose a single one. Yeah? And from those people that also participated in the same battle, was many: Zayd ibn al-Khattab, Abu Dujana, Ikramah bin Abi Jahl, Abu Bara, ibn Malik, and Walid ibn Utbah. And there's many. Yeah? Obviously, the stories pertaining wars and, the Sahaba, this is in and of itself a lecture series. It's a lecture series, but we might do this. Allahu A'lam. طيب. So, فكل هؤلاء أجمع العلماء أنهم مرتدون ومنهم أنواع آخر. So the scholars are in unanimous agreement that all of those people are apostates. Not the Sahaba I just mentioned here, but those that fought against the group of Muslims, from them being Khalid bin Walid, yeah, and the likes. فالمرتدون أنواع ومنه نعم فالمرتدون أنواع ومن صدقهم أحدا منهم فهو كافر. So the murtadun, the apostates, are of different types. Yeah. Whosoever believes one of them, then he's a kafir. Yeah. Holds them to be true. Obviously, some differed. Not everybody that. Oh yeah, murtad means somebody that was effectively within Islam, then he apostated. Not like a munafiq. Munafiq is different. He was never Muslim from the beginning, generally speaking. And munafiq, not somebody that says don't smoke, but he himself smokes. Yeah, that's nifaq amali. That's hypocrisy of the actions. Obviously, it may be a person says don't smoke because he doesn't want you to fall into the sin and have that issue. Yeah, we don't say he's munafiq billah. You know what I mean? Disbeliever, hypocrite. But a munafiq, as I mentioned in DaaruSsunnah, and it's defined like this in many other books. من يظهر الإسلام وفيه إضمار الكفر. Yeah, من يظهر الإسلام وفيه إضمار الكفر. So a munafiq is somebody that makes apparent and manifests Islam, so he tries to show you his Islam, ولكن فيه إضمار الكفر, but there is a concealment of disbelief. He doesn't believe in it. Yeah, he doesn't believe in Islam. He just makes apparent Islam in order to trick the Muslims. And we've mentioned many of their sifat, their characteristics. From them, the mudhabbina, they waver. Bain al-Muslimin wal-Kafirin, they waver between the Muslims and the disbelievers. They're neither with them or neither with them. Yeah? Okay. And then we have likewise, yeah? Okay, back to the actual text. وإن كان يشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. So even if a person, he says لا إله إلا الله and he's from the apostates, listen to this. فلا تنفعه لا إله إلا الله بمجرد النطق. بمجرد النطق. So it won't benefit him, the kalimat al-tawheed, if he just says it and he believes Muslim Kenzah is a prophet. Yeah? طيب. And then if the person إذا شدوا كفرا من هؤلاء من يقول لا إله إلا الله ثم يعبد الأولياء والصالحين, then this person, if he goes out and worships the, awliya, not the true awliya, but the awliya they believe are the true awliya, and the salihin and the worshippers of these people, yeah, the righteous, yeah. منهم الفجائية السلمي. So there's another individual here, الفجائية السلمي. لما وفد على أبي بكر وذكر له أنه يريد قتال المرتدين. So from them is al-Fuja'a, I believe it is as-Salami. When a declaration came to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and mentioned to him that he wanted to fight the apostates. This person, he came to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, yeah, Abdullah Abu Quhafa, and he said, I want to fight against the apostates, the Murtaddeen. وطلب من أبي بكر أن يمده, and he requested from Abu Bakr that he assist him and يعينه. فأعطاه سلاحا والرواحل. So Abu Bakr gave him, weapons, and he gave him mounts, camels, what have you. فاستعرض السلمي المسلم والكافر يأخذ أموالهم. So السلمي attacked the Muslims, yeah, as well as the disbelievers, taking their wealth. فجهز أبو بكر جيشا لقتاله. So Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he prepared an army to fight. فلما أحسن بالجيش قال لأميرهم. So when he was made aware of the army, it was said, أنت أمير أبو بكر وأنا أميره ولم أكفر. So he goes and say, you are the leader of Abu Bakr as am I, and I have not disbelieved. فقال إن كنت صادقا فلق السلاح فألقاه. So the leader responded, if you are sadiq, if you are truthful, then surrender your weapons. So he surrendered them. Allahu A'lam about this story. Allahu A'lam in terms of this part here. I'm going to mention it anyway. فبعث به إلى أبي بكر فأمر بتحريقه بالنار وهو حي. So he was sent to Abu Bakr, who commanded that he be burnt alive. Allahu A'lam about the sahih or the sihha of this narration, because it goes against a clear text from the Prophet ﷺ that you shouldn't burn a person alive. Yeah. But then I did some other research, and Allah knows best, but if you listen to it, it's interesting. So the general ruling is that you do not burn or punish anyone with fire. Yeah. So generally burning a person to kill him by way of fire is shay'un muharram, is impermissible, prohibited. But it has been said, qeel, yeah, it has been said. Some ulama made an exception in the case of burning somebody with fire. Who could guess how? When I say it to you, you'll be like, okay, subhanAllah. Yeah, very close, yeah, effectively. So some have made the exception for retaliation of punishment. So say that person used to go around killing people, burning people. Yeah, for example, they said, make his punishment fit for the crime. And they bring the verse in the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah 194. فَمَنْ اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ فَاعْتَدُوا عَلَيْهِ بِمِثْلِ مَا اعْتَدَى عَلَيْكُمْ. This is the verse they use as a proof. Then whoever transgresses the prohibition against you, then whosoever transgresses in the prohibition against you, then you are to transgress likewise against him. So this is the proof. This is what some ulama have said. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. So sometimes you might find some riwayat that there's no sihha to them. There's no authenticity to it. Or it kind of goes against a clear text without doubt. So some ulama, they try to harmonize. Maybe this particular hadith didn't reach a particular sahabi, because it's not like the Prophet ﷺ, wherever he walked, all of the sahaba with him at all times. Yeah? Like, how many there were always with the Prophet ﷺ. That's why one of the benefits, one of the great fawaid of having many wives, the Prophet ﷺ, in the household, is because they could all narrate from how he was at home and have different narrations. If it was just one wife, you know, you wouldn't have as much narrations as we have today. Without doubt, many wives seeing many different things from the Prophet ﷺ, all narrating good about him, all narrating how he was. And it also shows he wasn't just a person outside that was like a da'i ila-Allah, you know, ila khair taba'an, of course, but also someone that was at home, a, you know, man of the house, you know, a shepherd in that regard, looking after and likewise cultivating correctly. It shows that all of these wives, they're all narrating the same things. Even, you know, for example, one of the wives who was an adamant enemy towards him before he married her, even though he, alayhi salatu wasalam, you know, killed her family and what have you, due to his good, you know, relationship and what have you, manners and interactions, she effectively fell in, you know, love with him and they married. Yeah, so it goes to show you would never think that today. You would never think of a person today that, you know, would fight against, you know, a particular person. Then, you know, from them there will be a woman that will marry that very person who's, you know, being fought against. You would never think this, but it goes to show that the good interactions and the, you know, pleasant manner he carried himself with, you know, was comparable to none. You know, that's why Aisha, when it was narrated, you know, كيف خلق النبي, she said خلقه القرآن. His mannerisms were the Quran. You know, he was the perfect example, you know, in applying the Quran in his life, without doubt. So, moving on. So he goes and says, these obstinate and ignorant individuals fabricate lies. Oh, let me finish this as well. So, إذا كان Sheikh Fawzan says, فإذا كان حكم الصحابة في هذا الرجل مع إقراره بأركان الإسلام الخمسة. So this is the ruling of the companions upon this man, even though he affirmed the 5 pillars. فما ظنك بمن لم يقر من الإسلام كلمة واحدة. Then what do you think about the one who does not affirm anything from Islam except the kalima? Yeah? إلا أن يقول لا إله إلا الله بلسانه, except that he says لا إله إلا الله with his tongue. تصريحه بتكذيبه معناها وتصريحه برياء. طيب, so if he says it with his tongue, explicitly belying its meaning and explicitly separating himself from the deen of Muhammad ﷺ, من كتاب الله, he says from the book of Allah, how? ويقولون هذا الدين الحاضر وديننا دين آبائنا. And they say this is the religion of our times, while our religion is the religion of our forefathers. So he goes on to say, ثم يفتون هؤلاء مراد الجهال. Then these obstinate, ignorant individuals fabricate lies, saying that they are Muslims. إذا قالوا لا إله, if they say لا إله إلا الله. سبحانك هذا بهتان عظيم. He goes on to say, and this is great slander. Yeah? And obviously the statement La ilaha illallah, we've explained this previously in many other lessons. It has many different names. Yeah? كلمة التوحيد, yeah? كلمة الإخلاص, yeah? عروة الوثقى. Yeah? It has many different variant names given to it. And this goes to show, as Ibn al-Qayyim mentions, كثرة الأسماء للشيء, something having numerous amounts of names or something, تدل على عظمتها. It alludes to its greatness. Obviously, كلمة التوحيد, كلمة الإخلاص, عروة الوثقى, these are just from the few that we're mentioning. And we call this in Islam اختلاف التنوع, which basically means variant, different wordings. But it's not like اختلاف التضاد. اختلاف التضاد is when you have variant different wordings about something which all contradict. Yeah, and as Allah says in the Quran, وَيَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنَ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. So whosoever disbelieves in Taghut first and then affirms belief in Allah, then he has grasped the trustworthy handhold. Yeah? And then he goes on, وَيَقُولُونَ هَذَا دِينُ الْحَضَرِ. So meaning those who say Islam is the religion of times while we are upon the religion of our forefathers and we are not upon the religion of the times. And the ulama of Dalal, they say that these people are Muslims simply because they say La ilaha illallah. So you'll find Muslims in the Sufi, yeah, they say La ilaha illallah, so they're Muslim. Khalas, leave them alone. But he's going to the qubur, he's going to the shrines, he's going to, you know, all sorts of Allah musta'an places which negate your La ilaha illallah. And he goes on to say, while they've separated themselves from the deen of Muhammad, referring to it as the religion of the times. Yeah? وما أحسن من وما أحسن ما قال الرجل من أهل البوادي لما قدم علينا وسمع شيئا من الإسلام. So he goes and says, how excellent is that which one of the Bedouins said when he came to us and heard something from the teachings of correct Islam. قال, he said, I testify that we are disbelievers. He was referring to himself and all of the Bedouins. And he says, I testify that the scholar who referred to us as people of Islam is also a kafir. So he goes to, he said, I testify that we are disbelievers, yeah? And he was referring to himself, نحن كفار. And all of the Bedouins too, they're all kuffar. And I testify the scholar who referred to us as people of Islam, he's also a kafir. No, yeah? فهذا أعرابي جاء لدرس الشيخ. This is Sheikh Fawzan speaking now, yeah? فهذا أعرابي جاء لدرس الشيخ ولما عرف الإسلام معرفة صحيحة شهد على نفسه قبل أن يعرف الإسلام وعلى جماعته أنهم كفار. So Sheikh Fawzan speaking, because you know in Riyadh and what have you, you have like people that live outside the city and they live far and very how do I say it? You know, in khaymat and what have you, in tents, and they live in very you know, simplistic places. Isolated, yeah. There's another word for them. I forgot what they call it. It's another word. No, it's another word you call it. It's a word I'm looking for. It will come, inshallah. But yeah, they're Muslim, but the reality being they haven't learned much about Islam. So the Sheikh is speaking about these people. So the Bedouin came to the lesson of the Sheikh, and when he learned Islam correctly, he testified against himself and his group that they were kuffar before they knew Islam. Yeah. فشهد أن المطوع is like the religious person. مطوع is like the religious person. Anyone wants a beard, you know, شماخ. They call it مطوع in Saudi. يعني العالم الذي يقول أنكم مسلمون أنه كافر لأنه حكم لهؤلاء الكفار بالإسلام وما أكثر أشباهه. And he testified that the scholar who said that they were Muslims is likewise a kafir. This is because he ruled upon these kuffar saying that they were Muslims. And how numerous are the likes? Yeah. And he goes and says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. So this is the conclusion. All praises for Allah, the Lord of all that exists. And may prayers and peace be upon Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, his family, his companions. غفر الله له وجزاء الله عن الإسلام والمسلمين خير الجزاء لقد بينه ووضحه رحمه الله. So this is him making dua for the Sheikh Fawzan, for Muhammad Abdul Wahhab and his likes. And we'll just talk, in reference to some of the fada'il of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Yeah? I mentioned a few things before. Just find the page, apologies. Because we mentioned Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Did I mention to you guys when the Prophet ﷺ, he left, yeah, he was obviously with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and also another person. It was the freed slave. Do you remember? If I say Hurraira, Amr ibn Hurraira. Amr ibn Hurraira. He was also with them when he exited from Medina to Mecca. So it's a good book, and it's in English for those that are wondering. It's a nice book. I can't find it online anymore. I don't know if anyone's found it online, but it's a nice book. It talks about the Sahaba and the migration and the pilgrimage. So his name, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. His original name was Abdullah ibn Abu Quhafa. Yeah. Abu Quhafa's name was Uthman bin Amr or bin Amir bin Amr bin Ka'b. So his lineage actually connects with the Prophet. Yeah. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. His lineage actually connects with the Prophet, at whom he mentions Murrah bin Ka'b. Murrah bin Ka'b. So it connects. Yeah. Also, Khadija, her lineage also connected with the Prophet ﷺ too. Yeah. And he lived at the age of 63. Yeah. He lived basically to the age of 63, the same age as the Messenger ﷺ. Yeah. Abu Bakr was 2 years and a few months younger than the Prophet ﷺ. And he died 2 years and a few months after the Prophet. And he was the first man, or the first one from amongst the men, to accept Islam. Yeah, so there's no difference here. Ali bin Abi Talib was the first one from amongst the youth to accept Islam, whereas Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the first one amongst the men. Yeah.
SubhanAllah, I was literally talking about this with
Yeah.
literally as I was about to enter DaaruSunnah. I was having I wouldn't necessarily call it a dispute, but we were just having a conversation about who was the first believer. Because when the Rasulullah received the revelation of Iqra from Jibreel, didn't he go straight to
Khadija? Yeah, Khadija from the females.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's correct. So from the females, Khadija, radiallahu ta'ala anha.
Well, the first ever believer was Abu Bakr.
From the men, you have to specify, yeah? From the men, yeah? That's why they always go into details about the men, the women, and likewise the shabab. Yeah? So they differ. Not differ, but they specify, yeah? And then we have Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the first man, he mentioned this time. So he was the leader of the Muslims for only 2 years, 6 months, while some say it was just for 2 years, 3 months, and 20 days. So there's many different statements, but 2 years and 6 months, yeah? And his children was Abdullah, who was from the foremost of those who embraced Islam. And he's from the Sahaba, he's from the companions. And he would enter upon the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr while they were in the cave during the battle of Ta'if. He was struck with an arrow and died. This is during the leadership of his father. And we have Asma. So his children, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, were Abdullah, and you have Asma, the owner of the 2 belts. Yeah? And she was the wife of Az-Zubair bin Awam. She migrated to Medina while pregnant with Abdullah bin Zubair. What does Hijrah mean in Islam again? Who remembers? What does Hijrah mean? Yeah, these are good ta'rifat to memorize, yeah? فرارا بالدين, yeah? انتقال من بلد الكفر إلى بلد الإسلام فرارا بالدين. So it's transitioning from the land of disbelief to a land of belief, fleeing with your religion, or in order to protect and uphold your religion. Yeah? So he was the first child born into Islam after migration. Yeah, listen to this. So she migrated to Medina while pregnant with Abdullah bin Zubair. So he was the first child, yeah? First child to effectively be born into Islam after the Hijrah. Her mother, who did not embrace Islam, was Qutayla bint Abdul Uzza from Bani Amir. I just mentioned the explanation, the sharh, and this is from Ibn Qudama, I believe it is, Al-Maqdisi, yeah, Hafid Ibn Qudama, Abdul Ghani Al-Maqdisi, Abdul Ghani Al-Maqdisi. When Muhammad والسلام, and Abu Bakr sought refuge in the cave of Thawr, yeah, outside Mecca during the migration to Medina, Asma used to carry food to them under the cover of dark. When the Prophet and Abu Bakr left the cave, she tied the goods with 2 belts of her garment. That's where she gets the name from, yeah, owner of the 2 belts, yeah. And for this clever, inventive, thing she was doing, she was called the owner of the 2 belts. Her husband, Az-Zubair bin Awam, is also from the 10 promised Jannah. Asharatul Mubashirin. And you have Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. That's also from the offspring of Abu Bakr. And you have Abdurrahman bin Abi Bakr, yeah, who was the full brother of Aisha. Yeah. He fought in the Battle of Badr on the side of the pagans, and he accepted Islam after. And Aisha and Abdurrahman's mother was Ruman bint Amir bin Uwaymir bin Abd al-Shams bin Atab. She accepted Islam and migrated, and she died during the lifetime of the Prophet Islam. Yeah, there's many things we can mention about Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. One of his names is Al-Atqa. Did I mention this? One of his names is Al-Atqa, meaning the one free from the fire. It's in Surah Al-Layl, I believe it is. Where you say, وَسَيُجَنِّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى. Now he will be removed from the fire. الَّذِي يُؤْتِي مَالُهُ يَتَزَكَّى. He's the one that gave his wealth in order to be purified. Yeah? وما لأحد عنده من نعمته تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربك رب الأعلى. ها؟
إلا ابتغاء وجه ربك الأعلى.
وسوف يرضى. Yeah, that's the ayah. So that verse, because Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he was mentioned in the Quran, Al-Atqa, the one free from the fire. Yeah? And there's another verse as well, the scholars, they use by way of interpretation. Oh, subhanallah. You have Thani Ithnain, yeah? The second one mentioned in the Ghar, in the cave. There's another particular... I'll have to bring it next time. And then we have, likewise, you mentioned Umar ibn Khattab, Al-Faruq, yeah? Let's mention that Umar, when he was stabbed, he asked who did it, and he was informed that it was Abu Lu'lu' al-Majusi. Yeah? Umar was extremely happy and said, all praise is due to Allah. Meaning, all praises are for Allah, who has not caused me to die at the hand of a man who claims to be Muslim. Yeah, subhanAllah. So there's so many things. And I'll mention this one, also Uthman ibn Affan. We could go into detail about the Sahaba. There's so many things one could say. He is Abu Abdullah, Uthman bin Affan, bin Abi al-As, bin Umayyah, bin Abd al-Shams, bin Abd al-Manaf. His lineage, it connects with the Messenger, alayhi salatu salam, Abd al-Manaf, the fifth forefather. Yeah? His mother was Urwa bin Khurayz bin Rabi'ah bin Habib bin Abd al-Shams bin Abd al-Manaf. Her mother was Hakim al-Bayda bint Abd al-Muttalib. And so Uthman was from the foremost of those who accepted Islam. And he migrated twice. Yeah? He migrated to Ethiopia, Ardul Habasha, and then to Medina. And he married two daughters of the Prophet, hence the reason why it's called Dhu Nurayn. There's even a masjid in Medina Nabawiyah, which is just outside Masjid Nabawi, called Masjid Dhu Nurayn. Yeah? He first married Ruqayya. After she died, he married Kulthum. And the Prophet married him two of his daughters due to his closeness to him and love for him. And his khilafah, his leadership, lasted for 11 years. His leadership lasted for 11 years, 11 months and 20 days. Some say it was 11 years, 11 months and 18 days. And he was killed on the 18th of Dhul Hijjah, or Dhul Hijjah, afwan, after the Asr prayer, while he was fasting. This occurred, when he died at the age of 82. Yeah? Okay. I also read something else as well, saying that, okay, it doesn't conflict. It doesn't conflict because the Khawarij, I believe they attacked him. Yeah. Abu Yad put something online. Yeah, because they used to call him all sorts of names. Yeah, they used to say, because you're too close to the Christians and you're giving positions to people in government that are from your family. Yeah. So they used to call him names of the Christians and whatnot. And that's how effectively there was some form of rebellion against him to some extent. And it's even mentioned, I believe, I'll have to get the narration, that as one of them tried to strike him or kill him while he was in his house, I believe it is, that Uthman ibn Affan, he mentioned, may Allah cut or sever your body into two. And it was narrated that there was a man found once and his body was severed in two and he was alive, and it was said that, what brought about this for yourself? He said, I was from those that went out and did night raids against Uthman ibn Affan. Yeah, I'll have to bring that narration. Abu Yah put it out. Yeah. So the person who incited his killing was Abdullah bin Sabat, the Yahudi, the Jew. And this is obviously going back to the reality of rebellion, coups, and khuruj, and trying to take governments out. There's no khair in it. There's no khair in it. Not to say nobody ever did it. But as I always say to the people, the exceptions do not break the rule. Yeah, you have the rule which is we don't rebel. Yeah, but there are some that might have just done that. It doesn't mean that's a proof for us, though. Yeah, it doesn't mean that's a proof for us. It doesn't mean we're going to follow him in that, because the text of the Messenger, ﷺ, where it says don't repel or don't rebel, take precedence over that. Yeah. Okay. And also, you guys know, Uthman ibn Affan was from the Asharatul Mubashirin, the 10 promised paradise. The Prophet gave Uthman the glad tidings of paradise several times. Uthman ibn Affan spent his money to ready, yujahiz al-jaysh, for the battle of Tabuk. And this made the Prophet very happy. And he said, مَا ضَرَّ عُثْمَانَ مَا عَمِلَ بَعْدَ الْيَوْمِ مَا ضَرَّ عُثْمَانَ مَا عَمِلَ بَعْدَ الْيَوْمِ. Nothing Uthman does will harm him after the day. So nothing Uthman has done after the day will harm him. So the Prophet said, مَنْ حَفَرَ رُومَةَ فَلَهُ الْجَنَّةِ. And whoever will buy and dig the well of Ruma will be granted paradise. So Uthman bought this well and dug it. And also, what was Uthman ibn Affan famously known for? Who knows? Yeah, in relation to not, the ibadah of, oneself and what have you. What was he also known? Something we benefit from today. The Quran, well done. يعني هو الذي جمع الناس على قراءة القرآن. He's the one that brought forth the people upon the recitation of the Quraysh, the dialect of the Quraysh. That doesn't mean there wasn't other dialects of the Quran or other dialects of the Arabs. So for example, when we learn Arabic today, we are learning the dialect of the Quraysh. Yeah, it doesn't mean there's no other versions of Fusha out there. So you might find a particular tribe, they don't say, for example, like akhuka. Akhuka means, for example, in Arabic, your brother. We know it's in the halat al-raf akhuka. But there are particular other tribes that will say akhaka. It's fusha, without any, preposition being brought forth or any maf'ul bihi. A particular version of fusha is akhaka. And you'll learn this in, for example, more deeper studies of the Arabic language. But the point being is that we have been brought together due to Uthman bin Affan. And obviously that was something the Messenger allowed him to do. And we all recite the Quran ala qira'at al-Qur'an, because obviously the Prophet ﷺ said, "Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnati al-khulafa ar-rashidin al-mahdiyyin min ba'di wa addu 'alayha bin nawajid afwan." So upon you is my sunnah and the sunnah of the four rightly guided successors. And this is something the Messenger ﷺ only said about these four. From what I know, he never called anyone else Mahdiyin except these four explicitly. It doesn't mean other Sahaba weren't Mahdiyin, but he only said about these four. Allahu Ta'ala a'lam. So the sunnah they come forth with, yes, is also the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So he goes on to say, Allah united the Muslims upon the recitation of the Quran that was collected by Uthman. And he brings forth the fatwa of Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala. It was proven that the Messenger ﷺ said, the Quran has been revealed in 7 styles, 7 modes. Yeah? So recite whichever is easiest. And the scholars say they are close in meaning but different in wording. So you might find Malik or Malik. Yeah? You might find Malik or Malik. Or even, the brother, Muhammad Labeen, when he recites, sometimes you see he says things slightly different. Yeah? In his recitation, I believe he's reciting Warsh, I believe. Yeah? He says things a bit different. It doesn't remove the meaning. Like some scholars say, for example, you have Malik Yawmiddin and Malik Yawmiddin. Malik meaning the owner, Malik meaning the king. Some scholars will come and you say there's no difference, except in maybe a few things, like an owner, no doubt, has power, has authority, and they'll say, but every king is an owner. You see it? So they'll say, so Malik and Malik, there's no real difference. Matter of fact, it enforces a greater meaning. Yeah? But it's not like what the Christians have, for example, when they have complete verses not there, You can't find that verse no more, not even in Lost and Found. You see it? So you find all sorts of things missing in their book. So he goes on to say, they are close in meaning but different in wording. When Uthman heard of the differences among the people, and Hudayfa came to him and said, save the people, he consulted the companions. Now this is important to recognize this. He consulted the companions who were still alive at that time, such as Ali, Talha, Az-Zubair, and others. and they suggested compiling, yes, the Quran in one style. So he went back to those more knowledgeable him in this given affair. Yes, so that the people would not differ. Yeah, because obviously some people were saying things differently, and he didn't want there to be confusion. Hurraira. Yeah, so he compiled it and formed a 4-man committee for that task. There was a 4-man committee, yeah, headed by Zayd bin Thabit. He was a scribe. Zayd bin Thabit was a scribe of the Quran. So they compiled the Quran in one style, and they copied it and distributed it. Yeah, they distributed it to many people, to the various regions, so that people could rely upon it. And it put an end to the disputes. In regard to the 7 recitations, or the 7 modes, some say or 10, yeah? Some say or 10, yeah? Some say or 10. And they are present in what was compiled by Uthman ibn Affan, yeah? And they have to do with adding or omitting a letter, or elongating or shortening a vowel. So sometimes you even hear the brother, Muhammad Lamin, Hafidhullah. For example, when we recite what we normally recite, he would prolong that particular harf. He would prolong or elongate that particular word or that harf. That's their recitation, yeah? The intention behind that was to preserve the word of Allah and protect people from differences that could harm them or cause fitna among them. Allah has not enjoyed reciting in 7 styles. Rather, the Prophet said, recite whichever is easiest. Yeah, it's a hadith. فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مَعَكَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Yeah, it's a known hadith. فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مَعَكَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Recite that which is easiest from the Quran. Some of the scholars use this as a proof for what? Who could guess? They say, by way of this hadith, it means Fatiha is not wajib. Because Allah said, or the Prophet commanded, that you just have to recite that which is easiest. So what's the refutation? Who reckons they know? Huh?
No Salah, no Fatiha.
Yeah.
There's another hadith, a clear hadith.
Clear hadith. So you have general speech, that which is general, and then we have that which is specific, like the brother mentioned. لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب أو القرآن. Yeah. So what do we have now? We have general speech, and then we have exclusive, yeah, explicit speech. So what does that actually mean? It means after Fatiha, you can recite that which is easy for you. Does that make sense? It's even on the Quran itself. فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Yeah, and recite that which is easiest for you from the book. So they use these verses in order to, explain and bring forth detail. I think next week, inshallah. You have time next? You're not busy next week? We might have to do one more lesson, but we'll finish the book. We'll do one more lesson, yeah? Just on, Seerah and the biography of the Prophet ﷺ. Because it's good, it's nice to know about these things. There's so much Sahaba here we can make mention of. Yeah? The last Sahabi to die was Abu Tufail, صح? 1110 Hijri. Yeah, he was the last Sahabi to die. Yeah? And then maybe we could take some benefits from Allahu A'lam. What's it called again? Madarij al-Salikin. A real nice book by Ibn al-Qayyim. Serious book. You know what Madarij al-Salikin? What verse or what surah it's based upon? Surah al-Fatiha. 2 volumes of like 350 pages. Just on Surah al-Fatiha. Just literally on Surah al-Fatiha. Yeah? And it's funny because you mentioned, I think Ja'far mentioned like last week, or maybe the week before that, I think the ayah, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَةٍ لِلْمُتَوَسِّمِينَ, something similar to that. Basically, about what is basira, what is insight. You have ilm, which is knowledge, then you have al-basira, which is insight. What does that mean, insight? I was looking into the book Madarij al-Salikin by Ibn Qayyim. He mentions what al-basira is. And in regards to the word mutawassimin, those that have acumen, firasa, the ability to read people. Not like, these so-called soothsayers and what have you. It's the ability to somewhat make judgment of a person based upon possible actions. It's a very nice benefit he brings. It's long, it's lengthy, but he says al-basira is that which Allah places in the heart of a believer. Yeah? That he has a given ability to just read a person. I think I got it I'm going to put it on my phone. So I'll read it to you. It's nice kalam. I couldn't memorize it. It's too deep. Sometimes you can't memorize it. Yeah, this is the ayah. Inna fi dhalika la ayatin lil mutawassimin. Yeah? And that translates as, indeed, in that there are signs for the discerning, meaning those who have this given acumen, this given ability to read. And then he brings forth, يعني أن البصيرة تنبت في أرض القلب الفراسة الصادقة. So he goes on to say, his words, it gives rise to, don't know if I'm saying this word right, to acumen, the ability to read. Meaning that insight causes one to grow truthfully in the heart, which is a light that God throws into the heart by which one separates between right and wrong. So he has this basira, he can separate between right and wrong, and truth and falsehood. Yeah? And then he brings a hadith. I didn't even know this hadith in Tirmidhi. Yeah? I'll read this hadith to you. I don't know if you guys knew this hadith. He mentions, I will end it here, hadith Abi Sa'id al-Khudri رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اتقوا فراسة المؤمن. He said, fear the acumen of the believer. Fear. فإنه ينظر بنور الله عز وجل. For this person, he looks with the light of Allah. Yeah? So it goes on to say, beware of the acumen of the believer, for he sees with the light of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And obviously, particular ulama were given this. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. We'll end it there. It's been a late night. Jazakumullah khair. This is the last lesson for this particular book. Maybe we might do a lesson next week, inshallah, or a lesson after next week. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I do apologize for any mistakes. As you all know, the Seerah is a lengthy one. And our teacher, Abu Hakim Bilal Davis, he has done it online, SoundCloud, or via SoundCloud, apologies. So you all are more than welcome to, have a listen to that. Jazakumullah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.